Thank you. Can you hear me in the back there? Am I loud enough? I know what you're thinking. Why is this guy wearing a jacket? This is the wrong place, the wrong crowd. But you know, some habits die hard. But trust me, I'm an engineer, a double E. I used to be a chip designer when I had hair on my head. So although I can't write any code anymore, but hopefully it's not a waste of your time listening to me today.
It's all low code, no code, so don't worry.
Thank you for inviting me, Alan. I appreciate that. I've learned a lot in the last day. I feel a bit of an imposter, to be honest, because I think my only qualification for being here is that I used to work for Verizon. That was 11 years ago. So I took a bit of a detour from the telco world, and I built a couple of companies, sold my last one to Prove last year. That's why I'm here. So I'm going to do my best to try and impress you here. So the bar is pretty high after all the very detailed technical presentations. This is probably going to be the most non-technical presentation of the entire conference. So apologies in advance for that. So you know, I took a detour, but then having been an outsider for a little bit, it gives you perspective, right? And so you know, the perspective that I would like to share here is that, and look, I'll be honest, I had to go research CPaaS when Alan and I first talked. What the hell is CPaaS? But I did my research. You know, there's something called Google. But then I said, hold on, let's just take a step back and think about, you know, the world we live in. And here's a couple of observations, right? Mobile networks were built for communication. They were not built for commerce. They were not built for commerce. We pretend, we assume, we think that, yeah, of course they should support commerce, they should support payments, they should support security, they should support. They were not built for it. They were built for talking on the phone, like gossiping, blabbering. That's what they were built for. And we are expecting so much from the mobile networks that there's a disconnect here, right? There's a disconnect. And again, just taking a step back, why are we all here, right? You know, look, I mean, we are doing all the innovation that we do because the digital economy, whatever that means, and I have a view as to why I call it that, but we are getting pulled into more and more and more connectivity because that connectivity is enabling more and more commerce, and commerce has very different needs from pure communication. So how do we bridge that disconnect? That's where we feel humbly that we come in, and the presentation that I just heard from Truephone, we are kind of in the same zone here. I feel, and again, I'm obviously biased here based on what I do, but the growth enablers here to connect this disconnect is really identification, authentication, proofs and claims. That is how we feel that we can bridge the communications versus commerce disconnect, because digital economy is what we are all, that's what makes us go around, right? It's all about the money. So, you know, using this key, okay. Now I know again what you're thinking. Oh, that's another bullshit marketing slide, okay? But allow me to ask you to wear your consumer hat on for just 2 minutes. Don't think of yourself as engineers or innovators or tech people. Think of yourself as a consumer and your kids and your grandkids. Now I sound like a politician, but why do we do what we do? Okay, why do we invent new things? Why do we build new things? We want inclusive access for as many people as possible. That has been the promise of the internet. Are we there yet? Think big tech. Are we there yet? We want protection for consumers from fraud, from account takeovers, from synthetic IDs, from people stealing your money. Think about all the things that have happened in the recent past where money that was supposed to go to you as a consumer hasn't gone there. The friction that is there, or too little friction where the fraudsters can steal your money, right? And then I know that Web3 is a loaded term, but the key ethos of Web3, which I like to remember, is about consumer control, right? The core reason for the Web3 movement, in my mind, is that you want to shift back the control of the value from the internet into individuals' hands. That is how I define the core ethos of Web3. So if this is kind of our common agenda, again, my biased view is that authenticated ID verification allows us to do this better. So how is that? And how do we do that at Proof? So Proof, just a quick history, like Alan said, we've been in this for a while. The company has a very strong mobile DNA, 15 plus year old company. My CEO, founder and friend, Roger Desai, this is his third company in mobile. And I was a partner of Payphone back in the day when they were in their early stages, and investor in this company back in the day in 2011. We invested along with Amex and other VCs in their second or third round. And the reason I say that is that it's taken us so long, right? These things, as all of you know, don't happen overnight. So today, after 15 years, we are a classic pre-IPO company. We have about 1,000 or so enterprise customers. We have been in this journey by iterating. We used to be called Payphone, and I invested in this company. Now we are called Proof. What do we do? I'll send the slides, but I would say two main things, right? Again, think of yourself as a consumer. The first exposure you have, to a commerce experience is when you're trying to open an account, open a bank account, apply for a credit card, sign up on a portal to prove your vaccine status, or any sort of digital onboarding where you have to prove who you are. How do you do it today, right? The most common experience, unfortunately, is an experience that was taken from the physical world and I would say blindly ported to the digital world. Here's my driver's license, take a picture of it, take a selfie, compare. Well, there's a problem with that. And I will quantify the problem in a couple of slides. That's not what we do, right? We like to use the inherent strength of the mobile network to help you prove who you are to the platform who's trying to onboard you as a subscriber. So that's the first time, or that's the first place that our client uses our technology to onboard new users with minimum friction, maximum efficacy, and that's part one. Part two is while you are a subscriber of that enterprise, for any high risk, for any logins actually, even when you have to go back, how do you prove yourself who you are? And we'll talk about passwordless in a second. Also for any high risk events like changing your password, a wire transfer, so on and so forth. So identity and authentication is basically what we do as a company. How do we do it? Like I said, we are different from most other players, and this is a nice continuation from the previous presentation. We believe in hardware roots of trust, right? Go ahead and download the white paper, which we just published actually. That has a lot of detail on how we use our platform called Pinnacle to support this way of doing authenticated ID. So essentially, that's the biological person at the top who might have a national ID, and most other solutions which are based on taking a picture stop right there. They will take a picture of that ID, they look at your face, I think you are Jane Doe, come on in, right? Not good enough. The thing that just struck me after the last presentation was we are probably doing a far better job in authenticating devices, IoT devices, gas meters, and Wi-Fi routers than we are doing in authenticating human beings in this world. Think about it. We are not good. We are not good at the human authentication. Anyways, that's what we want to solve, and we are solving already. So here's how we do it at a very high level. I'm not going to go too deep. This is the most technical slide of the entire presentation, by the way. So enjoy it while you can. The key here. Sorry for the pun. But you've probably been following the whole passwordless movement bandwagon now, especially with iOS 16. We're going to have passkeys. Wow, that's amazing, right? You're now going to be able to have passwordless access to digital, to sites on the internet without having to, use your sticky posts or whatever, because Apple will do that for you, Google will do that for you, Microsoft will do that for you, right? Basically, it seems like this is the year of FIDO, after having waited for so long. The FIDO standard is getting implemented. Fantastic, right? But FIDO is not the only one. We've been using the SIM for a similar, in the same way for almost a decade. We are also using other hardware in roots of trust, such as the chip on the credit card. You tap that on the phone. Again, that's an authentication based on a hardware root of trust. So it could be a SIM, could be an EMV chip, could be a FIDO token, Face ID. Think about it. For the first time, Apple now really wants to know who you are. They want to know the person behind the Apple ID. Why? Because that is opening the gates for Apple, for Apple Wallet, for Apple Cash, for the BNPL Play. As Apple wants to get into commerce, it's not good enough for them just to have an association of device and Apple ID. They need to know the biological person behind that now. Only then they can do commerce. Otherwise, you can't do commerce if you don't know who's the human being behind the Apple ID. That is a big shift which is happening this year with passkeys. So again, that's the site. You can learn more. A quick detour on eSIM because I'm actually personally excited. A quick story here. Back in my very first project at Verizon, I was hired in 2004, and we were CDMA at the time. I don't know if all of this makes any sense to you, but I'll be quick. My CMO asked me, hey, all of these SIM guys have been pushing us to go the SIM way. Is there a reason why we should do it? Now, most of the strategy people want to submit something to the CMO to get a big project approved and spend a lot of money. I went back, and I was a newcomer then, right, to Verizon, and I said, let me think about this. Why do we really need a SIM? Because at the time, all Verizon phones were CDMA phones, no SIM. And after a lot of research, I came to the CMO and said, here's the presentation, blah, 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 blah. Conclusion is, the only reason you should consider a SIM is if you want to make a commerce play, 2004 to Verizon. And he said, thank you. You are one of the very few who is not asking for money. I said, no, don't bother. Obviously, when we went to LTE, we went to SIMs, and now I'm feeling, hold on, we are going back in time. We are going back to a non-SIM world. What's the difference? I feel like we have matured as an ecosystem. Let me ask you this question. Who has had your phone number for more than 10 years? Do you think you own your phone number? Think about that. When someone tells you that number that you've had for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, you don't own that number. Hold on, that's my identity. I don't think so, is what the MNO might say. I don't think so, Apple might say. So we are beginning to ask these questions, and now that's going to lead to, I think, a new wave of innovation with eSIM at the center. I know it's early days for eSIM, but look, I got my new iPhone 14. Look, no SIM, no slot, right? It's going to happen, right? So again, just some food for thought. Let me keep moving in the interest of time. And again, if you want to ask a quick question or make a comment, go ahead if it's okay, but I'll go fast. I don't have too many more slides. Here's the money slide. Okay. Well, how many of you know what that means? IYK. Okay. So I guess I have to say I'm probably the oldest, but maybe I'm not the oldest. If you know, you know. That's what it means. That's the that's the new TikTok jargon. Go look it up. Anyways, I learned that from my kids, so I don't take any credit. What's my point here, right? Most people do, like I said, probabilistic authentication, okay? Rules-based authentication. They'll say, based on all the data points I have, can I be moderately enough sure to let this guy in the door? That's not what we do, right? We are like, look, if we know, we know. If we have the SIM card, if we have the EMV chip, if we have a hardware root of trust, we know for sure. That results in a monetary benefit, okay? Industry average for fraud in digital onboarding is 40 basis points. If you look across all the various players, credit card companies, banks, insurance companies, fraud because of poor, or I should say, fraud because of the way fraudsters will game the system, 40 basis points. Our largest customer sees 3 basis points of fraud. Okay, So just from going from a probabilistic model to a deterministic model, 10x improvement in margins. Is that interesting for you? That's obviously interesting for our customers, and I'm hoping it's interesting for a few of you here in this room, so that we can explore how we could work together. Because at the end of the day, that is the pot of money, right? 37 basis points from, let's say, trillions of dollars of transactions happening, that is here for us to share. How can we share that pot of money? So just to give you a sense of the diversity of our clients, right? So like I said, we have about 1,000 plus enterprise clients, and all the usual suspects. They all use us in a slightly different way. Okay, the big banks obviously want to know everything. They'll do it their way, custom, all PII. They want everything. They store everything. They have custom models. The smaller players who will just tell us how to do it when you check the box. There's obviously the Web3 people who are now beginning to pay attention, and you say, who's that little dot there who's not there yet? Those, let's call them the Bitcoin maxi people, right? who still don't believe that you should do KYC, who still don't believe that you should know whose money you're taking on the platform. I think they're coming around. If you're following the news in crypto, they're in the bad shape. They're coming around. So I'm going to pull that circle into my orbit as well, right? So how will I do that? Well, that's my next section. So one of the things that we've learned, having been an enterprise player, is that no matter how many use cases we might cook up, or how many ways we might be able to anticipate people will use this, there's always another way. So I'm saying, hold on, let me step back. What do we really need to offer people when we say ID and authentication, right? And how, and if people were to consume our capability in a self-serve way, what are the various ways in which you could do it? So very quickly, let's call it the most important and hopefully the quickest, which is to just to check, are you a human? I mean, the Twitter deal almost fell apart because Elon Musk said there's too many bots who are not real people. Think about that happening in almost every other aspect of the economy. All right, we have a lot of non-humans pretending to do commerce. So so that should be a quick check, human or not. Proofs and claims. Sometimes I don't need to know who you are. All I need to know, are you above the age of 13? Are you above the age of 18 to buy alcohol? Are you a resident of Nevada, because that's where I can sell cannabis? I don't need to know your address. I just need to know a bit of information based on your attributes. Sometimes I do need the attributes. If I need to ship you a box of cannabis, then I do need to know the address, right? So then you go into attributes. A bank, or or somebody who is regulated, or who wants to be sure that I can trace back information, they will probably want our entire auditable KYC proof ID, right? And then extending that even further, I can tie my proof ID to other things. Education credentials, income, this, that, whatnot, right? So essentially, that is in my mind the pyramid of what our capability can be used for in various different ways and in a self-serve way, right? And that's actually why I'm really here, because, and again, I'm really impressed with the community that you've built here, Alan. I think people trust each other. I can tell from just the body language, the interactions. I made some new friends last night. And I feel like there is a sense of openness here. So I'm in the same spirit, I'm sharing this with you in that sense of openness to see if there are doors that we should explore together, right? I'm building this new company within a company at Proof, and I'm in the early stages, being very candid, but this is a great time for us to brainstorm, right? So, some of the pillars, and that's my last slide, I'm calling this the identity bridge from Web 2 to Web 3. In fact, I don't like the word Web 3, but people use it, so I feel like I'm forced to use it. What I'm really trying to do is to create kind of a Web 2, Web 3, Web 5 agnostic, right? So wherever the internet takes us, right, we want to be agnostic to what that Web X is when we talk about identity and authentication for human beings. We also want to be use case or application agnostic. I don't care how you use my API, right? See, today, the way we do the business, we know exactly what is the use case. Opening a bank account, applying for a credit card, proving vaccination status, opening a crypto exchange account, I want to do some gambling or gaming, right? We just signed FanDuel. So, but we know exactly the use case. I'm saying no, but especially as the average company size in the world is becoming smaller and smaller, you have an entire part of the economy supported by creators and influencers, right? Companies of one. I don't expect to know every use case that could be out there, so I want to be use case agnostic. As long as obviously it is lawful, compliant, right? You can do what you want with my API, right? The last thing, again, which is part of why I'm here, is that this is going to be the new company within the company. L2 is what we're calling it. Self-serve, no enterprise, no salespeople, so no marketing bullshit. The API will be out there for you to try, to use, and obviously paid. There will be, we might have a freemium model, not sure exactly what that will be yet, but want to start the process of engaging and having conversations directly with, with the developer community, like Twilio obviously has done very successfully. We are going the opposite way. We did it, right? We did the enterprise thing first successfully, and now we are going to the developer world. But that's pretty much my presentation. If you have questions about what we do today, such as proof prefill, proof auth, proof identity, go to our website. If you have questions about L2, I'm the guy. So, thank you.
Thank you so much.